there are indeed good people with all different kinds of philosophical backgrounds. The Christian faith has some benefits that the lack of Christian faith does not have. And that's why believing in something that you can't understand is so important. No one understands God except how God has tried to reveal God's self to us. And I believe that the great, perfect, true revelation of God is in the Christian tradition. I think that other traditions have some revelation of God and have some distortion of God. But I think that Christianity, as I understand it, and I would like to believe that I'm in the sort of mainstream, I'm not like a fringe fundamentalist, and I'm not some lefty New Ager, kind of like a mainline, mainstream kind of Christian person. And have many conversations with many clergy people, most of whom we find agreement, and many conversations with the Christian tradition through reading the Christian fathers, etc. That we have structure in our beliefs. In other words, the nice thing about going on your own and saying, well, I'm spiritual, but I don't have any religion. Or, you know, I'm a good person, but I don't believe in God, is that you get to make up your own rules. So it's like what used to be a popular term a couple decades ago was situational ethics. You make up your own morality. You make up your own sensibility. And so as long as you're feeling it, as long as you're driven by your emotions to certain kind of responses, you can do it. And then if your emotions change, you can change your mind and be a different kind of person. As a Christian, it doesn't work that way. The other thing is that by belonging to a community of people, if it's a good community, they hold you accountable. If I did something scandalous, my community would be very concerned about it. And people would talk to me. And I would like to think that I wouldn't necessarily be condemned for my unacceptable behavior, but I would like to think that people would definitely want to help straighten me out and get me back on the path. So in community, we have accountability. Nice thing about being a lone wolf is you get to do whatever you want to do again, because nobody's holding you accountable. You know, if you can get away with it, great. I mean, I used to live that way. I know. I mean, what a wonderful thing you be your own church. The other thing is that on a very real level, wanting to know God is, in a way, strange, because you're trying to know something that the first thing we know about God is unsearchable and unknowable. I mean, the scriptures tell us that. God is unsearchable and unknowable. But God wants us in relationship. So God has made God relatable through the Judeo-Christian tradition. And in that relatability, not only can we know intellectually something about the reason why this existence is and who we are and what it's all about, but it also gives us an opportunity to exceed ourselves, go beyond ourselves. In other words, when I go to church, I want to hear a sermon that challenges me, that stretches me, that makes me think things that I've never thought before, that makes me deal with my life in ways that I have not been dealing with it. And when I don't get that at church, I'm disappointed. I mean, and that's what the scriptures do. If you read the Bible, if you go to church, you're constantly being challenged to assess yourself and your motivations and your actions, and to see how you respond to things. And there's a couple more little things I'd like to mention. One is that having a relationship with God takes us outside of ourselves into a realm that offers us things that we can't get on our own. I'm talking about miracles, big miracles. Now, when people think of miracles, they think of maybe lame people being able to walk and blind getting access. Those are certainly miracles, and those things do happen, and I've seen those things happen. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what I consider to be even more difficult miracles, and that is changing human nature. I have experienced, and I know many, many people, I mean, in fact, I know hundreds of people who have become wiser, more loving, more forgiving, more generous, more hopeful, more patient, more kind, because of their relationship with God. God is not a puppet on a string, and all we have to do is pull the right strings, and God's going to do what we want God to do. It doesn't work that way at all. But God does want to give us what Jesus describes as the good gifts. And there's a lot of good gifts, but love, hope, and faith are at the top of the list. And I think that everybody needs those gifts by the bucket full, by the truckload full in their lives, love, hope, and faith. And those are gifts that you get from God. Without a relationship with God, what would be your source of love, hope, and faith? Would it be your government? Maybe not. Would it be self-help books that you can buy at the bookstore that tell you how to be a more successful person? I don't think so. You know, we're going to get your love and hope and faith. God gives us those gifts and will actually change the inner core of our being, which is why we call it a heart change, to be that kind of person. Without a relationship with God, I don't see how you're going to be anything but bankrupt in that department. Because if you're depending upon your own resources for being a loving person, a faithful person, a hopeful person, I feel sorry for you, because you know your bank account in those departments is so tiny to begin with. You don't have much to draw on. And lastly, God deserves it. We did not create ourselves. And our parents didn't create themselves. Now we know that biologically we came from our parents. But how was this world made? How were our parents made? How were we made? How does this whole thing work out? If you talk to many scientists, they tell you that there's so many things that are amazing that are impossible that actually happen. I mean, that there can actually be life on this planet. I don't know, go on all day about all the things that are inexplicably wonderful about this world and good about this world. That to acknowledge that there is a higher power, a supreme being, a consciousness, a creative force, something beyond ourselves. I'm trying to purposefully not use the word God. I'm trying to that they're prime mover. All good terms, all exceedingly limited in their scope, but all in an attempt to describe there's something that I don't know that's much bigger than me, that is behind this whole thing, and I want to acknowledge it, and I want to honor it, and praise it, and try to the best of my very limited human ability to be a part of it. Because, I mean, if you're at all more than a child, you understand that the world isn't about you. it's a lot more complicated than that. I mean, part of maturing is knowing that the world is not just about you. People that are stuck in that are basically immature people. They're infants. I would like to think that in my life I've gone beyond my infancy, that I've achieved some sort of maturity in my life, and that I want to be a part of the big picture of the scheme of things. And I definitely like to be on the right side of it, as opposed to funning it. And the word evil simply means being opposed to God. If you're not acknowledging God, trying to understand God, and trying to participate in God's will for this world, then you are in fact opposed to God, opposed to God's plan, opposed to God's hope and goodness for this world. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be on God's side. I would like to live a life that, to the best of my ability and understanding, is pleasing to God. And I know that I mess up. I know that I make mistakes, but we have forgiveness. And as a consequence of all this, I believe that there is life beyond this world, life after death. And I would like to continue to be part of God's world and God's plan, and not live my life after this world in opposition to God.